So now we're going to make pocket supplement B. First thing we need to do is assemble our pattern pieces. I've cut them out, and as you can see, number 1 joins number 1. That's our fabric piece that we've got to cut out. We also need to do one in a stabilizer, and as you can see, I've matched up the numbers there and I've stuck them together. I also like to leave a little bit of extra paper around the edges of some of the pieces so I can overlap it. It makes it easier to stick together. Now, if you're making a clutch, you need to cut all of that in Decaville. If you're making a pocket only for your bag, just cut the top half only for the pockets in the Decaville. And for your fabric, you need to cut 1 exterior, 1 lining and 2 interfacing, and that's done on the fold. So basically you're folding your fabric and cutting that out on the fold by placing that line there on the fold. As you can see, I've already fused my interfacing in my Decaville there. Because I'm making pockets, I've only cut half of the pattern. When you fuse Decaville, I recommend that you let that cool for about half an hour before you move it. That's the way you get it to stick the best. Sometimes if you move it too soon, it doesn't stick real good. And if you're cutting a leather or vinyl outer body exterior, I suggest that you print an extra piece of those and then just reverse it and stick it together like that, so you get one full pattern piece, because obviously you can't fold leather and vinyl very well, so it's much easier to cut it by cutting out the whole thing. And that's why we've done the Decaville like that, because it doesn't fold very well. And you also need to cut slip pockets A, 4 lining and 4 interfacing. I've already fused my interfacing, as you can see. If you're making a clutch, I like to actually match two of those to my exterior, so that when I have my clutch made, I have the whole exterior like that, rather than having my pockets in a different fabric. But that is a personal choice, whether you want to have your pockets a different fabric or not. But that's just something to think about. For the magnetic snap, you've got the position of that marked on your pattern pieces, the same with your pocket body. And we'll go through where to install that as we work through the pattern. And don't forget to check your test square, because it's important that your squares print correctly. If you don't want to use pattern pieces to cut these rectangles, the measurements are given in the pattern as well. For the pocket supplement, you need a magnetic snap. I recommend the flat one here, especially for the clutch. You can also get these fatter magnetic snaps. Now these are 18mm snaps. I don't recommend you go larger, because if you do, when you install it in the top here, it's going to get too close to your stitching there, your seam. If you need to adjust that position because you've used a big magnetic snap and you have to move this down, you have to move that up by the same distance as you've moved that down. So I also made a leather clutch. With this one, some of the things that I wish I had done different was, for one thing, I wish I used a flat magnetic snap. As you can see, the fat one, it makes it gape there, and I think it would look nicer if it was a flat snap, not a bigger one like that. And also I ended up stitching my pocket in half there, and in retrospect I wish I just left it open. It would have been a good size for my phone pocket. So those are a couple of things to bear in mind. And also I only top stitched 1 row of stitching around there, and I think if you do that, you really should add some rivets in the corner there, because that's a high stress point and that will just reinforce it. Otherwise you can stitch 2 rows if you wish, but that's just what I did. It's certainly a super quick and easy clutch to make. Great if you need something in a hurry. So now we're going to install our magnetic snap. We'll start by doing that into the pocket body. So we need to mark the position where we're going to install it. So I just go and do that. Just put it across there, and then grab the backing plate from your magnetic snap and just mark where you can cut your slits. So I like to put a dab of fray stopper on my slits, especially on the exterior side. It's coming through in there anyway. And grab your magnetic snap. Now into the lining body, pocket body, we're going to install the male piece, the one with the sticky out bit. And obviously it goes on the exterior. On the exterior side of the fabric. Now I like to reinforce it with a bit of Decaville light, just to give it a bit of support. Now I put that fusible side down like that, and I just make sure that none of that comes into the seam allowance, like that. Now I'm just going to go away and hammer that on a hard surface, because if I do it here my camera's going to shake all over the place. Like that. And now I'm just going to fuse a scrap of interfacing over the top, and again I can trim it down so that there's no interfacing coming into the seam allowance. Like that. And there we have our magnetic snap in the pocket body. Now we need to do the same for one slip pocket piece. Like that. Okay, so now we're going to press the seam allowances under on the short ends of our pieces. Now I actually like to glue them down as well. I'm using this glue, but I normally use the Elmer's washable glue, but I ran out, so I've been using this one. I'm not going to wash this anyway, so I don't know if it makes any difference, but I haven't had a problem. I know that the Elmer's is the common one everybody uses though. Just find that when I stick them down, then it's a lot less annoying and they don't shift out of the road when you're constructing it. You get a neater job. I'm just eyeballing the size of these seams, guessing at what the seam allowance is. It's not that important that it's critical, but when you do the second side of the matching one to the first one you just did, I recommend lining it up so that they're nice and even, and then fold over to get it nice and even. because it really won't make any difference if it's a millimetre or two either way in size difference. And then since I've matched those up, I will clip those two together ready for stitching. Because after we've done that one, we'll go over to the sewing machine and stitch the two long edges. Now remember, you're putting the right sides together, clipping the right sides together, and make sure I put that clip around the right way for that lady who always corrects me on the use of my clips. You know who you are. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch each of those long sides. Now we're going to stitch the sides of our slip pockets A, and we're going to use a seam allowance of 10 millimeters or 3/8 of an inch and a stitch length of 2.4. Second one. Okay, so now we're going to trim these threads off, head back over to the ironing board, turn it right side out and press. Okay, so now we're going to press the seams open and then turn the right sides out. I just do this because I find it doesn't need to finish when you turn. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I know it seems silly, press them open and then press them flat again, but I just find that pressing for some reason just makes it a neater job. Now once I've done that, I like to just trim a little bit of these corners back a bit, just to remove some of that bulk in them corners. Why do I always make things look hard? I just like to push those seams outwards too. Do the same for the other one. I should put my phone on. Okay, so now that we've done that, we need to head over to the sewing machine and do some top stitching. So now I'm just going to change my foot. I can find it. This is my 57 foot. And now I'm going to make it a top stitch length of 3.1 at 3 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch from the edge. For some reason that gets stuck when I start there. I don't know what it is. It drives me up the wall. I'm going to stitch at 6 millimeters or 1/4 of an inch. It's going to be wonky there. Now I can either decide whether to fix my bit of wonkiness or whether I'll leave it. I'll think about that. It's going to be inside the pocket where you don't see it anyway, so what would you do? Fix it or leave it? Okay, so now we're going to go and do some further assembly after I fix my wonkiness.